attorneys were really brilliant. They didn't sue just Diddy. They sued his corporations.
They sure did.
And they sued his corporations and sued in her capacity as an employee. When you do that, it triggers commercial liability insurance.
Yeah.
And it triggers another policy called directors and officers. Okay. And we know he's a director of these companies as the CEO. So now you got two policies. What happens then is it takes away Puffy's ability to settle. It's not his choice no more.
So it's no longer personal accountability. It's his organization.
It's his organization. And it's no different than like if you hit somebody with your car.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say you have State Farm. Mm-hmm. State Farm gets to decide to settle, not you. You could say, I didn't run the stop sign. That's not true. They're lying. If State Farm says, we don't care. We did our investigation. We're settling. That's it. That's what happened here. So because they added those claims, the corporate insurance carrier got to say, read over and say, oh, hell no, we giving her the money.
We're hearing you. Diddy's public reputation is done.
It's done.
Yeah.
And if
all right, guys, it's your legal bestie, Attorney Simone. I am live from the courthouse. Ooh, right, you can see it back there. It's raining, so y'all, but I hope you really feel loved because it's raining and I'm still out here because I wanted to be able to give you this morning update, y'all. RICO is done. The RICO has officially been proven. Let me tell you, I don't know what's going on with my hair, but okay, who cares? Who cares? Who cares? But what has happened is the expert that has taken the stand today, y'all, the expert that's taken the stand has gotten up there and provided some serious RICO receipts. Now, number one, I want to start with letting you know the judge did officially, as I said on Friday, the judge officially got rid of juror number 6, the black male juror. He was from the Bronx. He actually was a corrections officer. So he was a corrections officer from the Bronx, and the Diddy team Diddy was really wanted to keep him. They filed for a mistrial, claiming that number one, he should not have been dismissed, and number two, if he's dismissed, they wanted him to be replaced with a black guy. You can't do that. That's not how it works. There is an organization. There's a order of the alternates. So when you replace one, you just have to take the next one in line. Because the judge said what they were asking him to do was basically use racism as an excuse to keep a juror, hit that like as you come on in, to keep a juror that appears to not have candor. Candor is being honest about the situation, because what happened was voir dire. Someone asked in a prior live, what's voir dire? That's just a process where jurors enter into, potential jurors come into the jury room, and lawyers from both sides get to ask them questions to make sure that they won't be biased. Where have I been? I've been in a courtroom, honey. Marcus, I've been in the courtroom. Y'all. So the other thing is, Brendan Paul is not taking the stand today. That's the drug mule. He's going to be there tomorrow because the lady with the receipts, with the RICO receipts, honey, is up there. It's a whole RICO party in there. Let me explain. So here's kind of the gist and the sexy parts of what we have learned this morning. Now, number one was back in March of 2024. That was the same day that the government was exercising searches of Diddy's different homes. The government also grounded his plane at the Opelika Airport in Florida, right, which is Miami area. When they did that, they seized Diddy's cell phone that were on him, and they seized two, not one, but two cell phones from KK. Honey, that's where all this tea is coming from. So what happens when a government does, a legal search and seizure, which is what they did when they went on that plane, and they had search warrants. So they were able to take all the devices. Well, what happened is when they got her devices, hers and KK is Diddy's chief of staff and has been, goodness gracious, for many years, even back when Capricorn Clark was working for him. So what happens is any and all evidence that was obtained. Sorry, guys, I need to put on my do not disturb. Hold on. There we go. Let me know. I want to make sure you can still hear me. Hold on. Fix this audio. Wait. Okay, can you hear me still? Let me just make sure you can hear me because sometimes, yes, hit that like as you join the chat, please, and thank you. There we go. Working. There we go. It should be good. Am I good? Yes. Okay, good. You should be able to hear me. Great, great, great. All right. So Ratan is saying, somebody was saying he's still gonna walk probably. Wait. He said, yeah, Rafan Baird is like, he's still probably gonna walk. Let me tell you, the way in which he could walk is if there's at least one juror that says, I don't care what the law is, I ain't voting guilty. Then he sure may be able to walk. Let me give you the rest of these facts. I'm gonna walk you through it. And I promise this is gonna be under 30 minutes. Okay, we're gonna get there. My ADD is ADD. RICO was probably finally proven. That's right. I'm going to explain how we get there. Just give me a second, guys. I ain't even been a full 6 minutes. So, what happened was KK, the chief of staff, had two cell phones that were seized. Diddy had cell phones that were seized. And what happens is when the government goes in and extracts those records, they then become evidence. And the government and Diddy's legal team do what's called a stipulation. What a stipulation does is says this is now indisputable evidence of whatever it says on this thing. Same thing happens with subpoenas. In other words, that evidence, if submitted to the court alone, is sufficient to prove up whatever it says on that document. So this morning, what happened was the government's summary witness, she was a paralegal for the US government. She was reading into the record a bunch of text messages that were obtained from the seized cell phones from Diddy and from KK. She also played audio recordings. Here's some of the highlights. Number one, child. It gave we have concluded the drug distribution. By concluded, I mean they provided more than enough evidence of the substance distribution. Why? Child, the text message that were in there. Remember, these text messages are considered, how are the text messages being entered not considered hearsay? Well, they're not hearsay because they were obtained, number one, in the course of business, they were obtained lawfully through a subpoena. So, in the same way, like I represent clients in serious auto accidents, like $1 million Uber cases and stuff like that. Well, if you're in a car accident, medical records, right? Medical records are hearsay generally, unless it falls into an exception. Well, because medical records are obtained as business records through the proper courses, that is why it's not hearsay. Similarly, these text messages are not hearsay. Now, all text messages can't get in. No, it has to include either someone who's going to take the stand or a co conspirator. You got to have one of the two. That's how come each of the text messages that they're putting in either have a co-conspirator on it or it includes Jane or Mia or Cassie or someone, hit that like, who's been on the stand. So excellent question, Angel. But that's why the text messages are not hearsay. Also, at the time that they were written, these are text messages like between KK and Diddy. At the time that they were written, they weren't trying to lie on anybody. They were literally conducting a business and conducting affairs. So let me give you an example of some additional juicy stuff from these text messages that goes towards proving the RICO. There was one, it was from KK to Cassie that said, hey, Dave, I guess that's one of the substance dealers. Dave's at your door with the green. Okay, that was like a little something. And then Diddy sends a text message to KK saying, hey, Guido's outside. Guido is the substance dealer. I said, Guido's outside waiting for the 10,000. Can you let Guido in and handle what needs to be handled? As in getting the substances that Diddy wanted, that Guido, it's already been established that Guido was the substance dealer through other witnesses. Hold on, we got some more. We got some more. And this, stay with me. This isn't it. Also, y'all, if you've been hearing about TriStar is TriStar is an entity that does business management. Okay, it manages money for various different artists. They're the ones who did Britney Spears's estate in her conservatorship, and we're supposed to be managing her money. People have all kind of concerns about them. Well, there's a woman named Robin Greenhill. That's who does the accounting, all the business management, all the numbers. I think it's operating. Great for Diddy. How Miss Thing is on these text message chains. So Robin, who is supposed to be the accountant, is on a text message chain that says, "Hey, I need approval." This is from Fahim, the security guard. "I need approval for $1,200 for flour." We know what flour is. Flour is cocaine. Flour is cocaine. Yeah, is a problem. It says we need $1,200 for flour today. Guido is waiting to deliver it. Guido again is a substance dealer, and then Robin is on the chain. Diddy is on the chain. Fahim and KK, and Diddy says approved. There's another one. This text string is KK, Diddy, um, oh girl, Robin. It says KK is texting Diddy, and Fahim says, "Well, what do you need?" Diddy responds, "Molly, 15 pills." You think it's a girl named Molly he trying to get? I don't. It's not no girl named Molly, honey. It's not no girl named Molly. And here's the issue: he's got his business accountant on the text string. He's approving the purchase of substances, which are then going to be used at freak offs, at parties, at whichever. So the issue. Oh, it could be pink flour. Yes, quote unquote, $1,200 for flour, and then later it was Molly, 15 pills. Here's another one. Oh yeah, there were multiple. They just kept going and going and going. No, there was also some interesting. There was an interesting text string that was 2 weeks before Cassie's lawsuit came out, where Jane is texting KK and telling KK, "Hey, no more hotel nights. I want to celebrate." It was his birthday this coming up. So this was November 2nd. His birthday is November 4th. Jane is saying, "No more hotel nights. I want to celebrate Diddy like a normal person." She said it got violent recently, and that um, she didn't want it to be that way. And there was no more hard partying for her. This was her providing evidence that she was trying to get out of the lifestyle. What was interesting with that was that happened in November 2nd of 23. That was before Cassie's lawsuit. But hold on, we're gonna go back. We're gonna go back. Also, 3 days, oh yeah, 3 days after Cassie's lawsuit, in addition to her sending the message 2 weeks before, Jane says, well, Diddy sends her a voice note that says, "I can't talk on these phones. I called and I reached out, and it's just, I thought we both enjoyed what we were doing." Like, it literally sounded like Diddy was trying to kind of cover his butt, trying to cover his bottom, and Jane's crying on the phone, and she's like, "No, I just can't handle this anymore." And went back and forth. Also, there's a message where after the Cassie situation came out, KK sends a message to Diddy that says, "If you can't be honest with me, this won't work. You are lying, and you're lying to me." This is KK. She said, "You're lying to me will break me." KK is his personal assistant. Now, also, there was a message where KK sends to Diddy that says, "Make sure Robin's not doing anything dumb, like not paying her rent." The dumb, like, yeah, make sure Robin's not doing something dumb, like not paying her rent. Yo, that was interesting to me. And that was an exchange between KK and Diddy. Because that makes me wonder, okay, well, did y'all keep paying it after the Cassie situation? Because you didn't want any more legal issues and you knew the government was investigating you? I don't know. I want to get that transcript tonight and reread it again in context. But Jane sent a message the month after Cassie's lawsuit where she specifically says to KK and to Diddy, she says, "I was coerced into this dark lifestyle. Robin is the accountant for Combs Global." Okay. Robin, some people are asking, who is Robin? Robin is the accountant for Combs Global. So there were messages in there that were read into the record. Now, mind you, the purpose of this morning for the summary witness was to put in indisputable evidence of the text messages. Basically, they established that, hey, the reason these text messages are legit, there's no question about the authenticity, is because they were obtained during the legal search and seizure that happened in March of 24 on Diddy's plane. Remember, that was also where Brendan Paul, the substance mule, was found with a bunch of the substances and was arrested. Oh, there was this funny little text exchange. It was a text between Brendan and KK. And Brendan says, "Oh yeah, I think tonight Diddy's going to be in Wild King mode." Yeah, oh, he said, "I think tonight's going to be wild. It'll either be like King mode active, like King night, or they were asking, is it going to be King mode active or like Gucci bag active? Gucci bag is where he keeps the substances." And so KK had asked that, and then he responded, somewhere in between type of active. In other words, they know like King Nights is one level of wild. Gucci bag means the substances. Hit that like, guys, as you're coming in, another level of wild. Um, there was some evidence that Diddy called Mia 3 times in a day after the lawsuit came out with Cassie, and he wanted to basically kind of get ahead of it. Okay, we don't really care about that. Blah blah blah. Here's what we do care about: the RICO evidence. So, um, oh, here we go. Yeah. Oh, also they also submitted evidence that Jane was decorating hotel rooms for the freak offs and had flowers and made it look really nice and romantic. That was weird. That was put in by the defense. Okay, but now we're going to conclude, and I want to see your questions about the racketeering evidence. It's racketeering. Thank you for asking. He's charged with racketeering conspiracy. So what has to be shown, remember, is that we know there's an enterprise. It is called Combs Global Enterprises. But what has to be shown is that people from the enterprise, doesn't have to be every employee, but that some of them, hit that like, guys, that some of them are working together for a common goal. Fun fact, there is no requirement that the goal be profit. People get that wrong all the time. There does not have to be profit as the goal at all. They only need to show that it's a common goal. And here, the common goals are building up and protecting Diddy's brand of him being this powerful music mogul, but also to satisfy his sexual desires. Literally, it is in the indictment. I can't put the indictment on the screen from here, but literally, it's in the indictment. So those two things. So they have to show that he used his employees to sometimes do unlawful things, right? Unlawful offenses in order to either satisfy his desires or protect his image and his brand. That's it. Well, this evidence, what makes it such a stunner for the first time, remember I said prostitution is going to be one of the easiest things to prove? Well, we now have for the first time receipts of the prostitution, and they have been stipulated too. So specifically what that means is that the defense cannot come in and say that's not an accurate receipt. He didn't really buy that flight for Jules Thompson, the hooker. No, the defense has already agreed that is a valid receipt. It is accurate. So they showed that one of the hookers, Jules Thompson, I believe he took the stand the first week or what have you. It showed there was a text message string between Diddy or KK and Jules, and there's a payment string. He was paid, the hooker was paid by the accountant, Tony something. I got her last name here. Tony Bias, financial director for Combs Global. You're paying hookers from your corporate account. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. Oh yeah, shake that, babe. We're gonna shake. Oh, let me see if I get my, hold on. Let me see if I get my Astroglide. Hold on, y'all. It's all the way at the bottom of my bag. Okay, we're gonna shake that Astroglide, y'all. If you're new to the channel, that's usually what I do. I got a little Astroglide in my bag. I keep it. We shake it when there has been bombshells in the case. And so, yes, so they have a whole text exchange about this hooker, Jules Theodore is his last name, and how Jules specifically, remember, because the charge is transportation, uh, transportation for prostitution. So you just have to show that there are two different states involved. Well, these exchanges specifically, not only do they show that in the text, but then the receipt shows it was for a flight from LA to New York or New York to Miami, from this city to this city. So that is where prostitution, RICO style, has been proven. Substance distribution, RICO style, has now been proven. Why? Because you got the doggone accountant of Combs Global, Combs Enterprises, approving and on message chains that says we need approved 15 Molly pills. Hello. Robin is going to, Robin's about to lose her license. Robin is the accountant. Robin is the accountant. It says, so are we saying the government proved all of Diddy's companies through its full? No, they don't have to do that. Let me put that on the screen. That's a great question. Chuck Love is saying, so are we saying the government proved all of Diddy's companies throughout its full history were just created for drugs and S trafficking? Absolutely not. Nor is that even a requirement. You can show that it was created to be a record label, to produce albums, to make music, but so long as he was also conspiring with them to execute crimes, and so long as some, it doesn't even have to be all of them, but execute crimes for a common good. Here, the common good was protecting his brand and satisfying his sexual desires. That's what's required. Nope. You could have been a company that did nothing but follow the rules for the last 20 years. If for the last 6 months you guys decide that you want to go pow people and unalive people, then that supports a RICO enterprise. So that's how that works, Chuck. Excellent question. Going straight to jail. Hit that like button. Jesus, how many times does Simone need to say the objective does not have? I'll put that on the screen. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Valerie. Yes, Valerie. Thank you. Because I know people be jumping in and out of the chat. But yes, so this was the first time because so many people had said, well, they haven't submitted any receipts or any of that. Y'all, what happened was the government obtained accounting records, financial records, text messages, emails, all of that from Diddy's devices and from Combs Global. It started as Combs Enterprises throughout this time period, then it changed to Combs Global. And now, for the first time, they submitted into evidence actual receipts showing Diddy was paying the hookers, buying their flights, which is a part of the interstate commerce. Sorry, the transportation for prostitution. They nailed it. I don't know what to tell it. Yeah, the accountant needs to go to jail. Robin, that accountant, she's losing her license. She's losing her license. She is on a text string where the security guard is specifically saying, hey, I need approval for Guido needs to get the powder. We need 15 Molly pills. And oh girl is like, and Diddy is like approved, and oh girl executes it. Y'all, that's what RICO looks like. That's what RICO, and the reason it's able to flourish like that is because of the fact that it looks like a legitimate entity, right? That's part of the problem. Y'all, we got to pray for his kids because their trust funds gone. Their mom, Miss Janice wig, gone. All of Miss Janice's properties are gone. It does not matter that these properties are in Miss Janice's name. There's a property that's supposed to be in one of the daughters' names. It doesn't matter. They're gone. Once RICO is proven, then they are able to say any monies that were obtained related to the enterprise, gone. The wig is gone. Somebody said Miss Janice can refuse afford to lose the entire wig. Y'all terrible. Yeah, it says exactly. And I have never been a fan of Diddy, but yeah. So right now, what I'm saying is the evidence provided today, the RICO evidence is there for two things. And here's the thing, guys. Let's say a jury, one member of the jury is still like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to find him guilty of RICO. They still provided the evidence of the prostitution for transportation for prostitution. Because today, for the first time, we saw corporate documents from Combs Global showing where accounting approved and purchased flights from one state to another for the hookers. For the hookers. Come on, man. If there's anything that should not have had a paper trail, it would have been the hooker flights. And these are all male hookers that I'm talking about here. Oh, thank you. Somebody said I'm more interesting to Judge Judy. So y'all let me know in the chat. How do you tell me if there's a way? You guys would be the jury. You guys would be jurors. Tell me if there's a way that you think he can get out of this prostitution charge. I don't see it. Because remember, the difference between prostitution and S trafficking is S trafficking requires a level of coercion, force, or fraud. Prostitution just says, hey, I want to be paid to do it to somebody. and do it to somebody. That's it. So I say that to say, even if he's found not guilty on the S trafficking, even if he's found not guilty on the RICO, which I don't think because of what I described earlier, evidence today has solidified the prostitution across state lines at the bare minimum. But more than that, it has proven up the RICO enterprise because you got text messages talking about drug distribution where the accountant is approving the release of funds to buy the substances. And then tomorrow is when we are going to have on the stand. Thank you so much for those super chats. We're going to have on the stand tomorrow, Brendan Paul. It says, so this morning's, hit that like button, please, and thank you. It says, I don't think Robin Greenhill is a real accountant because she was the one on, yes, that I'm agreeing with you. Something, yeah, Robin is just doing stuff. But that would explain if she's not a true accountant, why but she's so tied. She loves having celebrity clients and why she would just approve whatever. Now that makes me wonder what the hell was she over there improving in Britney Spears case? Because if this woman has the type of judgment where she would allow herself to be on text message strings approving $3,500 for powder and flour is what they called it, then she don't have no good sense. Yes. Oh my gosh. Thank you for the super chat, Hudson. She says KK is the new Ghislaine Maxwell. So KK is the CEO. KK is not taking the stand. And I now see why. KK, not the CEO, chief of staff. KK was Diddy's chief of staff. I now understand they didn't put her on the stand because they got everybody else. And they've now got these stipulated text messages that are undisputable to show how she's on messages like these substance messages. It might be better to not give her an immunity deal because now you can go get her. Now you can go get her, but you know she can't fight, so she's not going to do too good in the feds. It says this is a reach. Thank you, Michael. It says this is a reach. If Diddy is guilty of this nonsense, then so is the entire elite class in the country, including the president. This is a monumental reach. Now, which part? I think he could have been okay if he wasn't committing arson and kidnapping people. I think that might be for some people where it was like time to stop him. But also let's be real here. Some people feel that this is the time for Diddy, excuse me, this is the time for Diddy to get prosecuted now for all the things he got away with before. But how do you feel about that with the law? Do you think it's fair to use the law today to get somebody on stuff you couldn't get them on before? So, for example, remember it was alleged that he was actually the gunman, and that Shine did not do it, but took the rap for it. So some people are like, well, now it's due time. I don't know about that logic. I don't know, guys. I meet what you saying. Brandon Paul is standing behind. Listen, I did. If you look at my video I released yesterday on Brandon Paul, literally in May 16th of 2024, I told y'all that Brandon would be a star witness for the feds. This was before Diddy was ever charged. I said that in May of 24. Diddy didn't even get indicted and arrested until September. But I said they're going to get everything they need out of Paul because that boy was a college basketball player at Syracuse. That boy can't go to jail. Nope, nope, nope. Yep. So Brandon Paul is going to be on the stand tomorrow telling it all. Ooh, Hudson, what you got here? It says, if the staff accountant could prove extortion, can she survive and keep her license? Well, she wasn't extorted though. If anything, she assisted with the extortion of Cassie's parents. So, but I mean, if she could, yes, then she would become a victim. That would be true. But she would have needed to jump on the bandwagon and file a lawsuit herself, Robin Greenhill, and she has not. Thank you, Stacey Renee. Thank you so much for the super sticker, y'all. All right, so share this. I'm going to go back in the courtroom. We've got some afternoon testimony. I promised you guys I'd keep it under 30 minutes. I have. Love you guys. It's your legal bestie, Attorney Simone. I'll do an update this evening. But RICO, woo, it's done. Prostitution is done. We'll talk more about it after court. Bye. And court should be over at like 3 o'clock today. So I'll see you guys shortly after that, 3 Eastern. Bye.